Okay, so we are starting week 5 of the Harken QAL, and this week we're going to be assembling our blocks. I'm going to show you with my scrappy version just a couple of things that I think are going to be important for the Harken quilt in general, whether you're doing the scrappy or the classic. I just happen to be showing you with this one because I think it's also good with this one to show just a few things about color and choosing your scraps and where you're going to put them. So what you'll need to know about this week is that you're going to have your finished 4-patch units that we did last week. Okay, so you're going to have for each block, you're going to need 4 of those. And you're also going to need 2 of the remaining strips here, okay? And then you'll have your other sashing A strip that you put together 2 weeks ago. That should be ready to go, pressed out toward the background fabric and just ready to be sewn in. So a couple of things, let's just take these away for now. With the classic version, obviously it's going to be a lot more straightforward. You just put your blocks out, sew them together, and you're done. Okay, so the scrappy version, as I said in the pattern and in the beginning of the quilt along, is going to be it's going to require a little bit more thought and just a little bit more intention. So a couple of things to think about when you're putting your scrappy blocks together is distribution of color and prints. And for some people this doesn't really matter. They don't really think about it too much. It's just, which is probably better. I tend to obsess a little bit over the small things, which is sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Things like, oh, I have this print here, but I also have it here, and I'm trying not to have it show up twice in one block. And oh, look, this color is a darker value, and so is this one, and they're going to be underneath each other. And you cannot in a scrappy quilt, I don't think, really make it to where none of those things happen. You just, I think, have to kind of, for the most part, just start putting them together, because you're just not going to be able to keep those things from happening. Like here, I just took this one away, and now I have this print, and they're both in the same exact spot, diagonal from each other. I don't know. Do I care? Not really. It's kind of cool that these are darker values here, and they're showing up in the same spot. It's really not going to matter once they're in the blocks and once the blocks are in the quilt. So that would be my first piece of advice. Don't do what I do and start getting all weirdly obsessive over it. Just play with it and see what you think. So whatever, you might choose something like this. You just decide and just go for it. Don't get too in your head about it. Anyway, okay, so let's just say I'm going to choose this. I like the way this looks. I'm going to lay that out. My next step is going to be to take my remaining sashing strips, and I'm just going to place them right sides together on the left block, the left 4-patch unit on each block, actually, the top and the bottom, the left side. And I'm going to sew those together. So there's a couple ways to do this. If you're really particular about how your blocks go together, you might lay each one out, label it, decide this is the block, these 4 are going to be a family, they're going to go together, and then know which is your left, and then keep them all together. Or if you're just going to be a little more willy-nilly about it, you can just take your 32, half of the 64 that you have, take 32 of them and sew a strip on. And then with those 32, start creating your, just find a match for each one. So there's a lot of ways to do this. You decide what feels the most comfortable for you. But whatever you choose, all you're going to do is, I would probably want a chain piece because it just goes really fast. But if you're going to do each block individually, that's obviously not an option. But you just take these to your machine, sew them right sides together, and then I have one here that's already finished. So these 4 are another block, and I'm going to show something else to you with those. Let's see, how am I laying this out? So this is a left side, and this is a left side. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one as the right side, and this one as the right side. Okay. So what I want to show you on these, and this is again another very minor thing that may or may not matter to people. What I like to do with this block is I really am aware of the 4-patch unit, the little four patch unit itself, always landing on the outer edge of my block. Just because, I don't know, you're not gonna notice it really that much once you get them all sewn together. It's, and you get the quilt quilted up and everything. It's really gonna be very, very subtle. If you don't do it that way, it's not gonna ruin your quilt in any way. Your colors are still gonna show up. It's fine. I just prefer personally for the piecing to be uniform and consistent. So that's just something that's super easy to watch for and to try to make happen in your blocks. Totally not necessary. It's not gonna, matter a whole lot, but here is a block that is finished, and this is the only one that's finished. And I have a lot of work to do. But you'll see here that I have that done. So I've got my 4-patch units on the outside of the block. Okay, so I just like the way it looks. It just looks like I wanted it to be that way. It just looks intentional. And like I said, it's not gonna make or break the quilt. If you mess one up or you don't do it that way, it's no big deal. Okay, so let's go back to this. So the next thing you're going to do is, after you get these guys on, these 2 remaining strips, is you're just, I think you can pretty much figure it out from here. And like I said, this is obviously all in the pattern. You don't need this video. This is just sort of an extra little piece. What you're gonna do next is sew the right side onto the sashing strip, okay? And again, just like I said in the pattern, you're going to press toward the background strip, okay? So in this case, it's not ideal because my background strip is white, so you will see the seam, but I'm just not gonna worry about that. And then the last thing you're going to do, you're gonna have 2 sort of panels here, the top and the bottom. And then you'll just connect the middle piece, the sashing strip A, to that, okay? And what you're mostly going to want to focus on here is, again, that matching. I can't do it on this side, but let's just say these 2 are together. What you're going to really want to focus on is nesting that seam, okay? And that's why we focus on the way we press. That's why I pressed this one in toward the background and this one toward the background, so that the seams were going in opposite directions. That way when I go to put these 2 together, I've got some place to nest those seams and I get a very crispy, clean square in the center, okay? Because my corners all line up very neatly. And that's nice. Again, is it a make or break thing? Is it going to ruin your quilt if they're not perfect? Absolutely not. But it's just fun to get them that way if you can. So I would here take the time to pin when you're attaching this sashing A strip to the bottom or the top, however you do it first. I would take the time and really pin it right here at these 2 corners. Okay, just make sure that you get it cleanly pinned when you have it right sides together. So just nesting those seams, taking your pin, and like we've done before, put it through both sides, both seams. Okay, I don't always pin when I nest seams, as you've seen in other videos, but for this, I do find that it's very helpful because I really like it when this square is really clean and sharp. So that's a good way to make that happen. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And yeah, if you have any questions, remember to just reach out. You can DM me, you can email me. There's just all kinds of ways to get a hold of me, and I'm happy to help. So, okay, enjoy.